We did it, y'all. Marina is reading The Walking Dead. I am rereading The Walking Dead. She's never read it. We're talking about Volume 2, Miles Behind Us, which I think is the basis for the majority of Season 2 of The Walking Dead. Yeah, now, when the show started coming out, I thought it was moving at a snail's pace, and I was like, you cannot base an entire season on one of these little books. You can't do that. You have to combine 2 or 3 of these books into one season. But it is, TV-wise, it's like, well, here's the location. Yeah. We need a location to shoot, so it's going to be that. And then we've got, Robert Kirkman obviously still writing it. Charlie Adlard and Cliff Rathburn are doing the art now, instead of Tony Moore for Volume 1. Marina, what were your overall thoughts on Volume 2? Give it to us straight. Hit us with it.
Better art. So, sorry, Tony. But it matches the genre. It looks a lot more dark and ominous and more adult. Yeah. Which is, it's supposed to be like, you know, scary before it was more cartoony. Although I still have a problem with the faces. Yeah, it's going to get better. I'm a little ahead of you. It's going to get better. Yeah. We're introduced to a character who looks a lot different than Rick, who is Tyrese. Yeah, he's obviously a giant, black man who played in the NFL. A lot of the women look the same. Like this woman face is like, that's how Maggie looks, and that's how Herschel's other daughter looks. Like that's how Lori looks. That's how they all look like Lori. Yes, basically. Yeah. Exactly. Or Lori looks like them. Lori's a bit of the template, but the art does get better. The art is better. The dialogue is still sort of like the syntax needs to be varied a little bit, but other than that, it's fine. I really like this cover. Yeah, that's the cover art is very cool. The bummer is in these little trade paperbacks, we don't get to see the cover art for each individual comic book issue they release, because they don't even put the division. They're just like it's one big story. So I think later I'm gonna have to pick up they have a Walking Dead collection of just the cover art of like all of the issues. So I'm probably gonna get that, and then we'll look at that for sure. But overall, I think. Again, sorry, the TV show is better. But why? Because Shane was in the TV show. Because Shane was in the TV show, it creates a more of a conflict. It does. And this is why I think I like the comic better, because it's less about, like, you're talking Star Trek the original series, and I'm Star Trek the Next Generation, where the crew didn't fight with themselves, but faced outside things. Sure. And then Star Trek the original series is Kirk and Spock and McCoy constantly arguing. So like that makes better television, but I'm like, but they're friends. They should be friends. They just want to explore. They just want to explore and live new life and new civilization. Yeah. Yeah. They it's like much more powerful for in this like Herschel's kids die. Yes. Who we met half the book ago. For sure. And we don't really even know their names. Like we don't care. So and in the show, who comes out of that barn? Sophia, right? Which I was thinking about on the way over here, and I was like, I think that happened for one of two reasons. Number one, you care way more. So number one, another way to shake it up. Right. And again, Robert Kirkman, as an executive producer on the show, was like, I want this to be different than the comic. I want people who read the comic to be watching the show and go, oh no, Sophia came out of there? She was missing, she wasn't supposed to go missing, and then she's dead and she's in this barn. So like, for story reasons, which was very effective. Poor Carol. Great moment. The second reason I think it happened is just like, logistically, it's hard to keep a kid actor on a show like this, because they change so fast. Obviously change, then grow so fast. That's why they got rid of Walt at the end of season 1 of Lost, right? And I think they're keeping around Carl because it's like he's a big part of the show, sort of a thing. And then I think maybe in keeping with season 2, or reason 2, maybe like they thought that actress wasn't fantastic, so they're like, let's write her off of the show. Yeah. Oh, but also we can do this big story thing. Yeah, and it like big departure puts you on Carol's side. Yes. It's just a much more emotionally impactful ending than a bunch of Herschel's kids dying. Like I read that and I was like, I don't care. Right. But mostly it's the same plot-wise, except in the TV show they do a much better job of like pairing people off, because it's so sad and pathetic in this when Maggie and Glenn get together, because Maggie is just like, hey, you want to fuck? Yeah. And he's like, and then I love you. And then at the end, and then it happens very quickly, like every couple is just like, we're together. Yes. It's like very quick, and at the end when Glenn is like, I'm gonna stay here, and Rick is like, oh, okay, bye, and he's like, Glenn is like, I'm in love. or whatever is the closest thing I'm gonna find
get in this world.
Right,
I know,
which is
it's
like
such a
so
bummer.
sad.
The show has done a better job of the Maggie and Glenn relationship. I will say that I don't want to give too much away, but the pairing off and everything you're talking about hasn't been fully explored. Like, they're going to keep doing it. But you can tell that Robert Kirkman is a writer. Again, he's a one guy. There's not a writer's room.
Right.
He goes through these phases of trying to answer questions that may pop up in his brain. So he wrote, like, Volume 1, and then as he's writing Volume 2, he's like, oh, wait a minute, the question of if people would try to naturally pair off or find mates. So then he's like, I'll answer it every single way. Like, everyone will pair off. And then, like, in the next couple volumes, there'll be questions of, oh yeah, I wouldn't think about this in a zombie apocalypse. And then he, like, answers it to the fullest. Yeah. For better or worse, you know? He just tries to address it.
They also find differences that they find, it's not Alexandria. What is the name of that town?
But it's a gated community. I forgot the name of it. Is it Alexandria?
I don't know. The gated community that they are living in the most recent season of The Walking Dead, they find in issue 2 or volume 2 of this, and I see why they moved it. Yeah. Because it is a big deal. Yeah, they basically find Alexandria, if that is the place that I feel like I'm saying the wrong name, but they basically find that gated community. And they're like, this is going to be great, we'll stay here forever. And then it has a bunch of zombies in it, and they're like, oh, well, fuck it, bye. Which makes sense at this point. Yeah. But in the show, by the time they get there, it's like, yeah, they would fight for it. They would, like, try to clear it out and try to live there because they're, like, desperate. Absolutely. But this early on, they're like, well, we'll find some other place.
Yeah, you could tell that's kind of... And then they lost one of their people, which, you know, she was in Volume 1, and she's in the beginning part of Volume 2, Donna, the character wife.
The character that doesn't exist, really.
Isn't in the show, and she's not really a fleshed out character other than she's just, like,
she's the mean. In the TV show, they combine Donna with Carol.
Absolutely. Where it maybe not be, it's not maybe the best marriage, but there's still little moments of humanity and like them being good parents up to this point. So then Donna dies. Yeah. Right after I said there's a night where she's like, you know what? I'm not so much of a bitch anymore. Yeah. So she's looking around at all the people pairing off, and she's like, maybe we have a chance. So the next morning gets eaten by a zombie, and her husband becomes this kind of like really depressed, useless character, and he's got 2 twin sons. Yeah. And
and Andrea and Dale are like together in the comic book, which when you don't have, like, if I hadn't seen the show, I would have been like, okay, whatever. Sure, but now I'm picturing Dale and Andrea, the actors, and I'm like, ugh!
You're reading it, I'm going,
so gross.
Oh, this is definitely different. It adds a different thing to really picture a man in his 60s or 70s or whatever, and a woman in like her early 30s. You know, Andrea, she was like in her mid.
She was like in her late 30s to 40s, but it was like, yeah. And she like doesn't like Dale at all in the TV show.
I know. But in the comic book, it was her and her sister that were in the RV, and then so they sort of like got closer to Dale, and then they really
so gross.
Yeah, exactly. That'll be interesting because everything that's kind of that they hit on this, they're going to be exploring further in the future volumes. Speaking of which, at the end of this thing, they find the prison. Yep. They find the prison, man, and for years. What I loved about Walking Dead was that it gave me my zombie plan, and nobody other than myself and the people who read this comic were reading this comic. So people would always ask, like, man, what would you do in a zombie apocalypse? And I had this plan of, like, I'd go to a prison. Because of the Walking Dead comic book. But now that the show is a show, that's everybody's idea, and it may or may not work out, as you'll see. But, things move fast, they get to it. The farm stuff for me was good, and at the time I loved the plot, the idea that Herschel does keep zombies in a barn.
Yeah, it's the beginning of the apocalypse. He doesn't know.
Totally.
And you know what I'll say? Usually the dialogue in here has to be pretty compact, but their argument about it made sense. He's like, you're not a scientist, you don't know what this is.
Again, that's what I love about the comic, is that I feel that characters go a little bit harder in trying to explain themselves because it's not as you have to because it's a book, and it's not as theatrical like a TV show or a movie where characters can make these rousing speeches, but then also like, I'm going to keep this information to myself for my own nefarious reasons. Don't do that. A lot of these characters, they haven't encountered characters like Negan yet, where they need to play things close to the chest. They've just encountered survivors, and they're like, this is why I think this, and this is what's happened to us up to this point, and I think we can trust them because of this, and can we trust you? Okay, great, we can trust you. So I really did like the conversation between Rick and Herschel, because Rick's trying to come at him like, listen, man, I'm not trying to, and it's very like level-headed, and it was good. It was well done.
Yeah.
So.
And Herschel looks a little bit like Rick. These two. Shoot, I don't know.
And again, having the actor who played Herschel in the show, helped me while rereading this, because I was like, oh, and now in my brain, Herschel speaks way slower than Rick.
Yeah.
And it helped me with the performance. Like, before, I would read Herschel as like, oh, hey, good morning yourself. Did your crew sleep okay last night?
Yeah.
And now I read it as like, oh, hey, good morning yourself.
Yeah.
Did your crew sleep okay last night?
Yeah.
I'm Herschel. I speak this slowly. Rick, let me tell you about life. And I'm like, oh, okay, great. It helps.
Yeah, it helps a lot.
And it's also fun to read Rick in that Andrew Lincoln voice. Where it's just like, Coral!
Oh, yeah, Coral!
Yeah. We gotta survive.
That
great thing. It's super fun. And Tyrese is a better character in the comic book than in the show. Yeah,
Tyrese is here early.
Yes.
Which is great.
Welcome edition. All right, cool. So how you feeling, Marina? How you feeling? Give us your overall...
I'm waiting... I mean, I like it.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting to read. I am waiting for one where the comic book beats the TV show.
Okay.
So...
All right. Hasn't happened for you yet?
Hasn't happened yet, but...
I'm forgiving. I like the comic. Rereading it is a real trip, because now having the show, it's really interesting to kind of bring all of that together, and I'm rereading it and I'm going, it could use another couple drafts of the script, but the plot's there. We're gonna see what happens. So we're gonna read volume 3 next. I brought that for you. Don't worry. So guys, keep reading with us. I think the people who are following with us are really digging this. And I get to reread it, which is awesome. So we're going to be doing this every week. Let us know what you liked and disliked about Volume 2, Miles Behind Us. And don't give any spoilers, because Marina's never read this comic book, so don't tell her what happens, because shit's going to get nuts, y'all. It's going to get nuts. I have a feeling I know when the comic is going to overtake the show for you. I have a feeling I know when it's going to happen.
Okay.
Because it's
make a guess in your brain and then remember it. And
I got it.
We'll see if
I got it.
Turns into reality.
I'll show up one week and be like, was this it? And you'll either go, yes, or you'll be like, what are you talking about? Oh, damn it. I thought this was it. All right, guys. So we'll be back next week reading the Walking Dead comic book. Bye.
Bye.